His songs have been part of our lives for 45 years, both as a solo artist and as the lead singer of Australian Crawl. I'm talking about James Reyne, and he joins us now from Victoria ahead of Party on the Point this Saturday night, the 26th of July at the Sandstone Point Hotel. Hello, James. How you doing, mate?
Good, thanks, Jason. Very well, thank you.
I guess you're pretty excited about the gig. Some really good acts there. You've got Hoodoo Gurus, My Sex, The Angels. I spoke to John Brewster last week. He's excited. What can we expect with your show coming up?
Well, I think as you explain, you'll get a good cover, a good select. It'll be all stuff except for one song, which I've got a new song out called "Going Back to Nashville," which we played. But everything else will be, stuff that everyone knows, my stuff, crawl stuff. All the songs they know and love will be played by my terrific band, eight-piece band, and with the Gurus, who are very old friends of mine. Rick Grossman, who plays bass in the Gurus, is one of my oldest and closest friends. So it's always nice to these sort of places you can catch up with. Well, in fact, I'm going in a day early just to catch up with Rick. So
Oh, nice. Yeah,
these sort of things can bring us together because you get less and less opportunities to see each other. Well, he lives
very
in
true.
Sydney, I live in Melbourne.
Very
But
true.
yeah, so it's good.
Well, I remember 45 years ago, I was in year 12 at North Sydney Boys High School, and there was a
Right.
great song I heard on the radio. And I bought a 45. It was called Beautiful People. It was co-written by you. It was the first hit for Australian Crawl. Take me back to that moment of that song about the two-rack society that you still sing that song, of course, and it's one of the favorites of the crowd.
That song. Well, I don't know. It was a hit. It got played on the radio. I don't know. Well, I think it was just a song I wrote with a friend of mine called Mark Hudson, and in the first share house that I ever had that was my first year of leaving. First year of university was 1975. So was my first share house, and I lived with a guy called Mark Hudson who was studying to be, believe it or not, then a computer programmer. And he was going to be in the band, but then he did so well. He stayed doing that. I think he's probably retired now. I think he probably designs, things for NASA or something. But he and I just wrote that. We lived in South Yarra, which is sort of was a fairly trendy kind of suburb of Melbourne then, and still is. And he and I just wrote that song for a bit of fun. We wrote a lot of songs. We had a little band in our share house. We just used to just play, just jam in our share house, and that was one of the songs we wrote.
Well, let's have a listen to Beautiful People and continue our conversation with James Reyne ahead of the big gig Party on the Point, Saturday night, the 26th of July at Sandstone Point Hotel. Beautiful People, number 22 on the charts, James. It wasn't a huge hit, but as you mentioned, it got played a lot on the radio. And I remember you coming on Countdown with your arms in casts, right? At that time, you had a bit of an accident.
Yes, yes. In fact, beautiful. But the other day I was in the supermarket and I was walking through one of the aisles. And, they play music in the supermarket. And I heard this sound. And I go, oh, what is that? I thought it was some new band or something. I thought, what is this horrible band? They're terrible. That's disgusting. I realized it was beautiful people. Horrible sounding thing. It's awful.
Well, I tell you what, I played that 45 over and over again. And, by the age of 17, I was buying albums. But because I love that song so much, I bought a 45. But I was talking to Stuart Copeland from the Police recently. And I also remember Message in a Bottle in 1979. That was another song that we played. And isn't it amazing, James, that when we're about 16 or 17, songs kind of stick in our consciousness? And I'd like to ask you, what were your major influences when you were a teenager and when you were growing up?
Um, it's a good point because I think the music you listen to, you're absolutely right. Between the years of about probably 14, 15. Well, I was a sort of music freak. I collected records, but it was from 14, 15 to probably 20 of the music you generally listen to for the rest of your life because it's your formative years. So your synapses are, accepting all this stuff. I listen to a lot of the stuff. I listen to a lot of Creedence Clearwater. I mean, bands like that, or Little Feats, Neil Young, Randy Newman. Um, what else? Dan Hicks and the Hot Licks. I listened to a lot. A lot of stuff that people I knew, the sort of group of friends I had, we all listened to Well, the girls I knew listened to a lot of Neil Young. I got turned on to sort of Neil Young and stuff by a lot of the girls that I hung around with, or the seemed to be into Neil Young and Van Morrison. A lot of Van Morrison, the Moondance album, Astral Weeks, those sort of records were very big influences. Or just that was the sort of music I listened to back then.
Yeah, Moondance album, I think, was an incredible album, and I remember how great it was. And I remember growing up in Sydney, all the cool girls like David Bowie, all the private school girls.
Yeah. Yep, that was a little bit later for me. I mean, yeah, it was David Bowie. They're all the cool girls like David Bowie. But I think, yeah, you're right. I think the Moondance album, I think the Harvest album, both those albums were huge on the group of people I knew. And I grew up was very influenced by the sort of surf culture. And it was huge in the sort of surf culture. And a lot of Australian bands. I used to go and watch a lot of Australian bands when I finally, was in my first year of university. So I was influenced by a lot of them.
The Boys Light Up album was the one that really broke Australian crawl. David Briggs, who I've interviewed, was the producer of that Little River Band, lead guitarist. Now, the song itself, Boys Light Up, that you wrote, of course,
Yeah.
everyone was talking about it. I don't think it was ever banned, was it? But it really got you a lot of attention, didn't it?
Yeah, I can't look. It's so long ago. I can't remember. I mean, I have a selective memory. I just think, yeah, I think it all sounds pretty awful. But uh, yeah, boys, I think Countdown wouldn't play it or something because I think they thought it was about dope smoking, which it wasn't. It had nothing to do with it. But you know, it's always good. You always wanted to get your records banned because it meant it just got extra publicity.
Well, let's have a listen to Boys Light Up, written by James Reyne, our guest, ahead of the party on the Point this Saturday at Sandstone Point Hotel. Now, the Boys Light Up album was number 4 on the charts, and then you had 3 number 1 albums, and the songwriting was incredible from lots of members of the band. But I want to ask you about a song called Unpublished Critics. Do you ever sing that song anymore?
Yeah, sing it sometimes, occasionally. We'll stick it in the set. Look, I have love, hate, or love, just love and with relationships with a lot of these songs. Sometimes a couple of them I think I always like, but some of them I just go, oh, because you've got to understand, I'm to still be defined and still be talking about, and I know we're here to promote the gig and everything, but to still be talking about some of these songs 40 something years later, it's you're sort of ambivalent about them because you're a totally different person and you're a kid. I was a kid and I was just learning how to write songs and how to play and how to be in a band and the dynamics of a band. We're all sort of working out that, and the dynamics of bands are really, ask anyone who's ever been in a band. They're interesting. Um, they're ever changing, ebbing and flowing things. And so we were learning while you're going. So, I mean, it's great and it's allowed me to have a fantastic career as a beginning of my career. And I think it was great. But a lot of the songs I find I can't remember, but yes, we still play Unpublished Critics now and then. And I still quite like playing it, but then I will rest it. A lot of these songs just rest them sometimes. It's like a football team. You just let's rest them on the sidelines for a bit and then bring them back in, you know.
What about the comparison with the Guns N' Roses song Sweet Child of Mine that was a number 1 hit several years later? It was 81 for Unpublished Critics, I think 87 for Guns N' Roses. I know you were asked about that. How do you look back now with your wise self looking back decades?
Wise self. I'm not saying that I'm wise. You get wiser. I'm not wise yet. You're still learning. Look, I'd never realised it until a lot of people told me. I just went, really? And even when people told me, I go, oh, is it really? I don't know. I can't really hear it, but I guess. And then and then people would send me. A couple of people sent me mashups where they put the two songs. I don't know how they do it. They somehow stick them together. I go, oh yeah, there are some real similarities, but you could also say there are many similarities with many other songs, and with that song alone. And someone told me there's a Steve Miller song that it sounds like, apparently. The
Well, let's
Guns N'
put them back
Roses,
to back.
not my one. I don't put it back to back. I mean, it's,
Let's put them back
well,
to Let's put them
I've
back to
heard
back
certain
and
of them.
have a listen, and then we can continue our conversation with James Reyne. So that was Unpublished Critics against Sweet Child of Mine. And I tell you what, there are similarities, but James, many years on, as I guess you can see that. But, we're talking about what you're doing at Sandstone Point Hotel. And you're incredibly fit. I know that you keep fit. You look great. What kind of perspective do you have on your career now, with so many decades gone? And you mentioned, those songs of the early 80s, that is 45 years ago. But what do you think you're most proud of in your creative career?
Well, I don't know if there's pride about it. I mean, I've learned to be, I'm very grateful for the fact that I can, at this point in my life, I'm playing in possibly, at this, finally, I mean, I'm sort of working out how to be a musician. And I kind of consider, it's only in the last 10 years I've considered myself a singer because I took a lot of time, a long time to work out what my strengths and weaknesses were and go, okay, don't do that. That sounds awful. You've heard enough of that stuff you used to do. And I'm lucky to be in a fabulous, like a really good band. And I think I'm grateful for the fact that I'm genuinely grateful for the fact I can work at the level I work at. And I'm probably playing in front of as many people or more than I ever have, including Australian Crawl. So I'm very grateful to be in that position. And a lot of factors have gone into doing that. Um, but also I know I've considered myself 3,000 times better songwriter. I still write lots of songs. I've been recording recently. I mean, every few years I put an album out. And I just know I'm a better songwriter. I just know it. I've just done it longer. I've done it more often. I've worked with different people including in Australia and overseas. And I've just learnt a lot, as you do. So I think the main thing is that I'm just grateful for the fact I can do it at the level I do it. Uh, After this time, not 19, listen to me, 2025, 19. I was going to say 1925.
Well, that would be something, wouldn't it, if you were still going from 1925? Yeah, Daryl Braithwaite, I never knew him recently. He actually referenced you about someone that, goes out and challenges himself to keep up the high standards. And Daryl, of course, does that as well. But, it's amazing, isn't it, that here you are in your, mid to late 60s and you're still out there. And we've got artists above 80. Paul McCartney turned 83 and he's still touring.
Yes, and I like to think that I'm playing at the top of my game so far. I think I sing better than ever. I'm as objective as I can be. And again, I'm still learning. I don't want to, I'm not big noting, but I just know that as a, as a technical sort of trade, as a craft, as a singer, I'm still learning, and I still know that I know when I compare to how I used to be when I started as a kid. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. It was barely controlled yelling. That's all it was. And now I know how to a lot more. I'm still learning, but I know a lot more about what to do as a singer and how to use my voice and how to get the most out of my voice and to how to prolong it and how to look after it and all those sort of things. But yes, Daryl's right, and good on Daryl, and he's a good friend of mine, I want to be out there and still pushing it, still challenging it, and you're up against it sometimes. This constant dwelling. I mean, I understand why, but and look, I'm really, really grateful, and I love a lot of those songs, but there are newer ones.
Well,
But you're
catch
constantly
James Reyne
yeah,
at
with
Party on the
that.
Point. Catch James Reyne and Party on the Point, and here's some of the new and old material.
Well, the only one you and it's all the old stuff. It's all the old stuff, the stuff like the cruel stuff and my stuff and solo stuff. But they'll know every song.
All right. So, James Reyne, thank you so much for joining us. Party on the Point, Saturday, 26th of July, this Saturday, along with the Hoodoo Gurus, the Angels, My Sex, Matt Finished, the Chantuzis, Chocolate Starfish, Spy versus Spy. Mate, we really appreciate you joining us, and we love your music. Please keep singing,
Thank you,
and
Jason.
you've brought so much joy over the decades.
Thank you, Jason, very much. Appreciate it.